experience in public policy in Benin and beyond. Allow me to please join me in giving him a warm round of applause as he joins us on stage.
Bonjour, mesdames.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Your kind attention, please. As it's been announced, we shall begin our work on the thematic session, and before that, allow me to reiterate my great pleasure and honor in moderating this session. Without further ado, given that we have incurred a delay in the previous session, allow me to call to stage the panelists for this session to move along with our proceedings. Allow me to call to stage Dr. Alexis Salvatore Loué, expert in evaluation from CLIER. Mr. Alexis, kindly join us on stage. Please give Mr. Alexis a round of applause. I would then like to call to stage Mr. Jamal Ramdan, President of the Moroccan Evaluation Association. Mr. Ramdan. Thank you. Please give him a round of applause. Mr. Redouane Arrache, Secretary General from the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Rural Development, and Water and Forests. Please greet him with a round of applause. Mr. Ayash Kilaf, Secretary General of the High Commission for Planning. Please give him a round of applause. Mr. Abdallah Chouik, Director General of the National Agency for the Promotion of Labor and Skills. Please give him a round of applause. Mr. Adil Bayi, Director of Strategy and Steering and Coordination of Transport at the Ministry of Transport and Logistics. Mr. Mohamed Alouzi, Director General of Fos Boukra. And finally, Mr. Omar Ben Bedira, Senior Expert at the Economic and Social and Environmental Council. To begin our thematic session, allow me to recall what we speak to when it comes to the evaluation of public policy. And when engaging in the evaluation of public policy, what does this imply? How is this conducted? And what is the strategic position that Morocco holds today in the field of the evaluation of public policies? To this effect, allow me to call to stage Mr. Alexis Salvador, an expert in evaluation from CLIER, to share with us how he defines the evaluation of public policies, the different types of evaluations of public policy available, and their relevance for inclusive governance. Dr. Alexis, over to you.
Bonjour.
Good afternoon. Thank you for this introduction. So since this morning, we have been discussing evaluation and its relevance. And I truly appreciated the various presentations that were made. However, we still struggle to define, to have a shared definition and understanding of evaluation, to understand how we can engage in this evaluation. As such, generally speaking, evaluation is a process, a systematic process, which means that it doesn't occur on an ongoing basis, and it is also objective, which means that it requires rigorous methods to ensure the production of evidence-based data. And so what does this speak to? I believe that following the presentation of the Madam President Zeynep, she spoke to massive data and data from administrative sources, as stated by Mr. Gounod. However, this evidence-based data is reliable and credible data that can be used for decision-making purposes and to improve the efficiency of public policies. So when conducting an evaluation, this is a systematic and objective process which aims to produce evidence-based data for decision-making and the efficiency of public policies. There are various types of evaluations, and it's important to bear in mind that these different types of evaluations are defined on the basis of various criteria. Some might speak to ex-ante evaluations, but when we speak to ex-ante, this means prior evaluation. So prior to what? Prior to the implementation of the project, policy, or program. An evaluation can also be conducted during the implementation of the policy, the project, or the program, which thereby speaks to the evaluation of a process. After the implementation, some might speak to ex post evaluation, after the fact. So the main criteria is the time horizon where the evaluation is conducted. So when the criteria changes, the naming will change necessarily. If we were to focus on results-based management, for instance, where we have the inputs, activities, the outputs, which are the outcomes and impact, when we establish a connection between the use of resources and the output, well, this is an evaluation of processes. And from the outset, in the design phase, it is also possible to conduct an evaluation, which is generally called a diagnosis. However, when we look to outcomes and impact, this leads us to what we call impact assessments or impact evaluations. It sometimes occurs that we try to see that the resources allocated to the program have indeed led to impacting results, or that are more cost-effective, whereby we can link the resources used and the impact. And here we speak to economic evaluation, and in this way, when you look into the various uses or the methods used to conduct these evaluations, there are different there are different ways to refer to evaluation. Some are use-driven, that involve all stakeholders, and whereby the prerequisites are ensured to have a relevant evaluation. And there are various evaluation criteria, for instance, those adopted by the OECD that you are all familiar with, but in a specific context, it's also important to take into consideration the values in the context and the specificities of the context. And this is when we can add other criteria such as efficiency, effectiveness, depending on the needs. Thank you, Dr. Alexis. I forgot to mention that we had initially planned on giving 10 minutes to each speaker, but we'll have to shorten that amount of time given the delay in the agenda. I would now hand it over to Mr. Jamal Ramdan, who is the president of the Moroccan Evaluation Association. And we heard earlier that evaluation is a systematic process and that this process may involve various stakeholders. From this standpoint, what is the status of evaluation in Morocco, and how can evaluation be a platform of shared skills? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, evaluation in Morocco has experienced significant progress. However, its constitutionalization in 2011 has been a fundamental turning point. As such, the Constitution in 2011 has specified who does what. So the Parliament evaluates public policies. Parliament can seek the help of the Court of Auditors to do so. There are, in fact, several institutions within the executive powers that also conduct evaluations. So within the constitutional institutions, it is the Parliament first, then the Court of Auditors. It is also the Economic and Social Council, sometimes sectoral institutions, such as the Higher Council of Education, which also conducts evaluations within the education sector. And then there is the ONDH, which is in charge of the National Initiative for Human Development. This being said, the Constitution laid the groundwork, but there are some implementing texts that have further enshrined this culture and institutionalization of evaluation. For a new organic law, which is based on results-based management. So we've reviewed our budgets into programs, and with these programs are all backed by results indicators. There's also an organic law which speaks to the provinces, regions, and prefectures, which has also dedicated articles to evaluation of regional development plans. And we also have a law on access to information. My colleague from the High Commission for Planning might elaborate on this point. And within institutions and within each ministry, we have a specific division in charge of evaluation. And within the Ministry of Equipment, that is the division that I led. Allow me to add another a word on basic and ongoing training. Morocco today now offers 6 master's programs on evaluation, and next year at least 2 other master's programs on evaluation shall be introduced. So we are also working on the supply and demand since 2011, and especially in the executive bodies, we are witnessing a very strong demand for evaluation through the various public tender platforms. So evaluation has been institutionalized since the 1990s. We shall now ask our dear friend Ridwan Arash to shed light on what's been done and the strategy for the Green Morocco Plan. What progress can you share? Thank you. Allow me to start my remarks by saying that given that we are speaking to the agricultural sector, there are some prerequisites to tackle the evaluation of the Green Morocco Plan that you've just mentioned. The agricultural sector is one of the leading sectors in Morocco, contributing to the GDP to the tune of 13%, with 30% of labor accounting for 30% of labor nationally and 60% in the rural areas, and 10% of global exports in Morocco, which bears witness to the importance of the agricultural sector for Morocco's economy. And in fact, given the complexity of the agricultural sector and its ties to various sectors all across the board. So, first and foremost, it's important to define the purpose of evaluation and its scope. And this is why I spoke to the importance of the sector and how interlinked it is with other sectors of the economy. So it's important to define not only the scope but the methodology. As part of the Green Morocco Plan, which was launched by His Majesty the King, may God assist him, well, its evaluation was conducted by the Ministry of Agriculture in a partnership with the professional associations, and this was which was much more a results-based approach, which was a lot more flexible, and which emphasized results, impact, despite the fact that this is a long-term impact, so it's very difficult. It's quite challenging to speak to impact per se, but with the effects or spin-offs. So there is a results framework, and there's also a logical framework, which is more detailed. And this is the method that was used for the evaluation of the Green Morocco Plan. In addition to the evaluation conducted by the ministry and the various professional associations, there are all of the national supervisory and evaluation institutions that have also extensively contributed to understanding and evaluating the Green Morocco Plan, be it directly or indirectly. For instance, the Court of Auditors that has conducted no less than 27 audit missions of the various programs of the Green Morocco Plan. There are also all of the works conducted by the IGF, the General Inspector of Finance, and those by donors that have funded the Green Morocco Plan, including the World Bank, the AFDB, the French Development Agency, KfW, to name a few. So there's a plethora of evaluations of the various programs, of themes that have all contributed directly and indirectly to enriching the thought process related to the Green Morocco Plan. And so with this interprofessional association, we focused on this results framework, which isn't formal per se. And all of this work and efforts have led to this evaluation, which goes to say that it's important to draw lessons from this effort. And so all of these evaluations lead to improving public policies and to improving the efficiency and effectiveness of our institutions. This is the first point I'd like to lead with. The second point I'd like to add is that in the evaluation of the Green Morocco Plan, one of the issues we had to deal with was the availability and quality of data, which is necessary to evaluate a program which is of the scope of the Green Morocco Plan. In 2008, there was what we can call a paradigm shift in the way that we approach this agricultural policy, due to the fact that a new strategy was introduced whereby the resource mobilization was massive, and the agriculture had a share in the 5% share of investment in public policy. And with the Green Morocco Plan, this amount increased twofold. And this bears witness to the weight of this agricultural sector, which contributes to value added to the tune of 13 or 14%. There's a whole fringe of the population lives off of agriculture, so it's important to drive investments to agriculture to help it go beyond the precariousness and poverty. There's also the role of the professional associations in this new governance model, which was indeed who were upgraded, if I may, to partners, to actual partners, and all of these programs. Not to mention the solidarity-based agricultural programs, all of these are backed by intrinsic monitoring and evaluation mechanisms. If, for instance, you have a program of the size of the Green Morocco Plan, which spans over a decade, and if these intrinsic mechanisms aren't linked to each of these programs, it is very challenging to evaluate such programs. And allow me to share a final example. For instance, the contract programs entered into between the government and the interprofessional associations are systematically monitored, and during each monitoring step there are evaluations or reports made to continue to learn lessons and push forward. So this breadth of information and has contributed to, in a way, facilitating the evaluation of the Green Morocco Plan. And I truly consider that these are instrumental contributions that are necessary to truly anchor the culture of evaluation in our programs. Thank you, Mr. Ridwan. That has showcased the importance of the agricultural sector in Morocco's economic development. He has also emphasized the importance of the methodology, the framework, and the results, which is indeed essential in the evaluation process. And the results framework, which in fact allow us to obtain quality data, which we often call evidence-based data. Without further ado, allow me to give the floor to Mr. Ayash Khelaf, who on the importance of evidence-based data in evaluation and which are the methods of analysis and evaluation of public policies. Thank you, Mr. Khelaf.
Merci.
Thank you. As far as we're concerned, as has been mentioned since this morning, data is very important to carry out evidence-based analysis. So for any such process, data is key. Here in Morocco, the High Commission for Planning, which is the institution tasked with the production of statistics in Morocco, strives to provide statistics that are necessary for any work, especially for evaluation work. And to do so, statistics and statistics gathering are important, which are important processes. And therefore, efforts should be made in that regard, especially in Africa, because statistics production in our continent remains a challenge in order to carry out evaluation. Because statistics are important in that regard. If I can give the example of our institution, our experience here in Morocco. As an example, last year we conducted the 7th general census of our population in Morocco. And we've always complied with this important event that gives us an idea of our demographic situation and people who reside in Morocco. For any evaluation program, especially when we speak about the importance of public policies and their impact on the living condition of households, here we are talking about surveys with households, and this helps us to have a precise idea of the current situation. For each public policy evaluation, we need statistical data, and hence the importance of this kind of data. When we speak to the labor market in Morocco, so a large-scale survey is carried out every year on the job market, and now we're striving to enlarge the scope of this survey. So we gather samples, and now we're striving to enlarge the scope of this sample. Here we stand at 90,000 households, and we want to take that to 130,000 households. And to capture the transformations at play, we need to enlarge the scope of these samples in order to cover as much population as possible. It is true that statistics are important, but efforts should be made as well. Data production is costly, and statistics production is costly. When it comes to survey, we have national accounting, which is an important aspect. It gives us a glimpse into the accounts of our nation, and it helps us evaluate growth, households, purchasing power, and hence the importance of the source of data to carry out evaluations. When we mention macroeconomic balance, growth, investments, data plays a very important role. And this brings me back to the other producers of statistics when we talk about administrative data and what we do in the High Commission for the Planning. We give access to statistics producers. So we need other sources of data beyond administrative data, which brings me to the national statistics system. And this is very important to conduct evaluations. If we don't have consistent statistics production domestically, we can't have an accurate picture. We can speak to the indicators, the standards, and so on. Thank you. After following what evaluation involves, and especially the evaluation of the Morocco Green Plan and the evaluation of evidence-based data, let's move on to another topic. We mentioned the dynamic at play here in Morocco, and here we will ask for the Agency for the Promotion of Jobs and Competencies what efforts are done as part of South-South cooperation and the outcomes of the current programs to do with employment. You have the floor. Thank you. My intervention aims to share the experience of ANAPEC in the evaluation of employment program and their re-engineering. But before I do so, it is important, given the context of this assembly, to briefly set out what ANAPEC does in terms of cooperation between countries of the Global South. Since 2001, the ANAPEC established a solid partnership with a certain number of African partners to share knowledge and Moroccan know-how and contribute to the strengthening of employment services. Each year, ANAPEC organizes several visits of African delegations, RIB study visions, internships or training visits when it comes to international mobility. And here I'm thinking of Benin, Senegal, and other countries. On the other hand, ANAPEC holds high-level meetings in partnership with international organizations such as OIC PeaceNet, which is a space for good practices sharing and also insights for professional integration. ANAPEC also contributed to the establishment of the first network of employment with 19 African countries. It is now an African platform for the exchange of experience and tools and models. ANAPEC also works within triangular cooperation as part of professional mobility, and this benefits a certain number of countries such as Cabo Verde, Ghana, Mauritania, and other countries. And in terms of work permits, let me remind you that Morocco has bilateral agreements with Senegal and Tunisia, which provide for a special regime that allows for foreign nationals to work within the national territory in Morocco. And this bears witness to the importance Morocco attaches to its cooperation within a balanced and organized framework. Now let's go back to the evaluation of active employment program. As you are aware, Morocco has adopted employment programs that aim to improve the employability of its people, encourage professional integration, and promote self-entrepreneurship. These programs are subject to periodic evaluations, the most recent being the discussion around the new employment roadmap that the government is currently implementing. This evaluation allowed us to identify certain aspects that need improvement, especially when it comes to the fragmentation of intervention and insufficient targeting, impact measuring tools. So all of this is now translated into practical steps as part of the employment roadmap with several initiatives, either it be with the restructuring of ANAPEC or the reshaping of its programs. Thank you, Mr. Chouik. We note that South-South cooperation is being conducted in very positive terms, but we also note that Morocco is currently becoming a regional platform between Africa, the Atlantic, and Europe. And I would like to ask Mr. Adilba to tell us, through the large-scale infrastructure and logistics projects, how Morocco positions itself as a regional platform. Thank you so much. It's an honor to take part in this panel here in Laayoune, this city that represents a success story within the development program in the southern provinces under the guidance of His Majesty the King. May God assist him. And as part of this program, much effort has been done, especially when it comes to transport infrastructure. The Minister, Nizar Baraka, mentioned the new Dakhla port, which is a large-scale harbor that aims to breathe a new dynamism into the region. It's not only about a transit platform for goods and passengers. It's a new impetus for economic and social development. We saw that with Tangier, with the Tangier Med port, with its road and railway connections. That port transformed the face of the northern regions. It attracted investments and created no less than 100,000 jobs. It also allowed Morocco to attract important investments, and the first one I'm thinking of is the investment in the automotive industry. Now we have two large-scale automotive projects in Tangier and Kenitra that export towards Europe. And let's remind that the Kenitra project is 400 kilometers away from Tangier. So the cars produced in Kenitra are transported by railway to Tangier. They are placed into containers and sold in Europe. So despite the distance, these projects are competitive in Europe, and this is thanks to the logistical effectiveness of our country, and this is thanks to our infrastructure, a large array of modern infrastructure which is interlinked. So if we are to evaluate the port infrastructure in Tangier Med, it has allowed us to become the first car exporter in Africa. Of course, all the scientific steps of academic evaluation can be followed, but the impact on citizens, the jobs created, the opportunities given to youth are front and center. Thanks to this infrastructure, I think this is a key element in any evaluation. In terms of road transport, let's mention the port connectivity, which is one of the key success factors of that port. Let's mention Tangier Med, for example. This is why we're working on a very ambitious project for the extension of the high-speed railway line from Kenitra to Marrakesh and towards Agadir in the long term. And as mentioned by His Majesty the King in his addresses, the ultimate purpose is to extend the railways towards the southern provinces. We already have a port in Dakhla. And one last point on transport. I think air transport is also one of the topics which have great importance within this program, and especially for the southern provinces, which are a bit far away from the rest of the regions. And the efforts being made to expand national roads, the efforts being made by regions in the support for the development of these roads have allowed us to create new opportunities, to strengthen our tourism industry. So today, if we want to draw lessons from this, we can say that robust planning was important. Governance was also important, and as you've said, the evaluation of impact and what is being felt by citizens. Thank you so much, Mr. Adil. And this has given us a clear view on the Moroccan experience, but it's important to know whether this evaluation system is used with an impact on the ecosystem. So we'd like to ask Mr. Mohamed to tell us what stock can be taken of the phosphate development projects in the region and what the impact is from these projects locally. Thank you. Thank you. Phosbokra is a major industrial actor in the region of Laayoune. The development program was launched back in 2015. This is a large-scale and ambitious program. It fits within the new development model in the region, the southern region, launched by His Majesty the King, may God assist him, launched it back in 2015. So this program aims to create more added value in the region and to develop an industrial ecosystem in the region. This program comprises three key elements. The first one is to create an industrial unit for the production of fertilizers. the goal being to transform phosphates locally and to export it in the form of fertilizers. The second component of this program is the building of a new port. This new port will have 3 missions. First, import the necessary materials to produce fertilizers. Second, import or rather export fertilizers. And third, this infrastructure will be made available for the region in order to facilitate access to the port and help export other materials. And the other component of this program is to increase the mining production capacity to support the development of the industrial program I've just mentioned. And another component is a new phosphate processing plant with a 4 million ton capacity. This is a new generation plant that will help us rationalize the exploitation of the local minerals. The budget for the program is stands at 23 million dirhams. As of today, taking into account all components, the project stands at 83% completion, and we reached this achievement rate thanks to the local management of the program. And all, as all stakeholders before me said, if we don't have an evaluation mechanism, the program will not be able to achieve its goals. So despite the COVID pandemic and other factors, we are on our way to achieving the goals of this ambitious production program. Now, when it comes to the second component, the impact on the ecosystem, from the start, the idea of transforming materials locally aimed to develop the region and create added value. In the life of any project, you have the building phase and the exploitation phase, or the operation phase. During the building phase, from the outset, the goal is to take advantage of the investment within the ecosystem. So we strived to compartmentalize the project and to support it through training session so that it rises to the high standards set by the OCP group. The second component is the operation phase, which we are preparing currently, because this new generation of plants require very high-end expertise in several areas: digitization, automation, cutting-edge technologies, and all these areas should be developed locally so that tomorrow, going forward, when operation is in full swing, we have all the expertise and skills locally. And because we achieved the first building phase, and because we developed the ecosystem, I'm confident that we'll be able to conduct the second phase, which is the operation of these facilities by developing our ecosystem. So a positive outcome thanks to the local management of the program. Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed. So we, in terms of the evaluation of public policies, we listened to experts, civil society, technical leaders, project management, or project managers. And here we have with us a representative from the Economic and Environmental and Social Council. So we'd like to ask him how the evaluation of public policies are perceived, and if there are impact evaluations, since we're talking about changes in the ecosystem.
Thank you, Chair, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. First, I'd like to say how happy I am to represent the Economic and Social Environmental Council at this very important meeting, which addresses a topical theme, which is evaluation of public policy. I would like to refer to the setting up of an evaluation mechanism. I think that we need to take into consideration 4 things. We have to determine the objectives, identify the assets, the better orient the decision makers and help them in terms of decision making, sensitize public officers to the importance of evaluation, ensure follow-up to the work of the actors in charge or the stakeholders in charge of evaluation. And there are, of course, significant challenges to be taken into account as far as evaluation of public policies is concerned. 3 elements are important. We have the past experience does not really take into account the needs upstream. We have to make sure also that the citizens are involved in assessing the impact. And there is a lack of we do not really take into consideration the sustainability of the impacts in this regard. The Economic and Social Environmental Council listens to the various stakeholders concerned and the citizens, and it attaches particular importance to this functioning method. Its ambition is to bring added value to the follow-up and evaluation of public policies, and the Council has launched a deep reflection regarding this aspect in order to ensure effective evaluation. And the aim is to be able to measure the contribution of public institutions and work on a result-based approach. In this regard, it is important to recall that the mandate of the Council are established by legal texts, including Article 128.12, which says that the Council ensures follow-up, not evaluation, follow-up to national, regional, international projects and policies and their repercussions. So we're talking about follow-up, not evaluation. In the mapping of the institutions and the role of such institutions as the Court of Auditors, Parliament, etc., the Council seeks to choose or to determine our standing, and also to avoid the duplication of efforts, to see how we can, in the 6 dimensions involved in the evaluation of public policies and follow up to them. We insist on 4 of them: pertinence, relevance, efficiency, and usefulness, as well as sustainability. I have a lot of elements to share with you, but because of the time constraints, I would like to insist on 2 cases in which we have applied the 4 dimensions I mentioned as far as follow-up is concerned. Regarding a public policy, the case of the progress report on the generalization of the health insurance, compulsory health insurance scheme, AMO. It has taken into account the progress made, and we have tried to assess this through the coherence of this, the relevance of this policy, the pertinence, and the sustainability. And we came up with a vision and recommendations that exist in this regard. Second element that is important, and I think it is very interesting because it concerns all of most of our African countries, and that is the intervention of the council that presides the institutions affiliated with Freya, and the aim is to make sure that we take into consideration the actual needs of the citizens. And in this regard, the purpose is to work with African institutions on climate change and the impact of climate change on economic and social environmental levels. First, we try to find out about the needs of citizens in 16 countries and see how they perceive this question of the environmental impact and climate change, and to see to what extent we can facilitate the energy transition. And one of the conclusions is that the initiatives, local and regional initiative levels, have to be supported, especially in terms of financing by the states. This work has also enabled us to come up with an advocacy document calling for an African initiative to address the question of climate change, and the aim is to facilitate dialogue, mediation between the different stakeholders in order to improve climate action at continental level. The advocacy paper also gives guidelines for the setting up or for the launching of inclusive climate action. We propose this taking into account the climate adaptation programs. This work was carried out within the framework of the different countries concerned. So this is if there are questions, I would be happy to answer them. Would you please give our speakers the round of applause? Thank you very much. We're running behind. We shall take maybe a few questions that should address the challenges. We'll take two in each part of the room. Who would like to start? If you could please jot down whatever comments you have, and I'll give you the floor. Thank you, Chair. My name is Marat Al-Khammar from the House of Councillors, Kingdom of Morocco. I'd like to thank the speakers for the relevant presentations made, and I would like to ask a question that is of a horizontal nature, that can maybe a cross-cutting question that can apply to everyone, and that concerns the use of AI in your activities, and especially the use of data. And I would like you to share this experience with the public. Second question.
Question goes to the on the impact, assessing the impact of all these evaluations we do. One would say it is what the citizens tell you, the final end user of that impact is what you should do. But most of the time, how do you get the citizens involved? What are the methods and means you get and engage the citizens to ensure that you get the feedback you need, like you said, by your organization? Thank you.
Merci. Une deuxième personne ici?
Any other speaker? Thank you. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adou Diop from Togo. I'd like to thank the panelists for the quality of their contributions. Allow me to speak to the evaluation of data quality. One of the panelists mentioned the importance of the good quality data. So I would like to hear more about how you address that issue in this era of artificial intelligence. And so what are the tools that are used? Do you use conventional tools, or are there any innovative tools for data collection to analyze and process them? The second question I have is on the use of data. After the data is produced, after the evidence is produced, what mechanisms are introduced in Morocco to properly use this data for evidence-based and objective decisions? Thank you. A last question. Please go ahead and ask your question. Thank you. My name is Manuel from the Congolese Evaluation Association. I would like to start by thanking and congratulating all of the panelists. In a very short amount of time, they were able to summarize in a nutshell the spectrum of evaluation. I mean, obviously, evaluation is a very expansive theme, and so it's no easy task to present it in such a concise manner. But speaking to the evaluation of public policies, I know that Morocco is one of the countries that has made significant headway. But just like elsewhere, we do know that there are several services or several departments that do conduct evaluations, but I haven't heard, as I've just emphasized, it's true. I mean, I did mention that it's very challenging to give a complete overview in such a short amount of time. In the cases where there are several departments are involved, well, the coordination becomes all the more decisive and imperative to ensure the success of the evaluation. Thank you for your question, which speaks to the steering or the coordination of the evaluation system. Please be brief.
I really don't know whether mine is a question, but I think, as I suggested, was yesterday, that APNODE should have something like a peer review mechanism, that most of the things countries need, such as fiscal policy problems, can we also have our benchmarks to help us as individual countries? I think it will be very, very important. I mean, how do we deal with our debt sustainabilities? How do we deal with our inability to generate the needed revenue, which leads to deficits, and we are forced to borrow, and our economies will have to depend on somebody's economy? I think we need to look at these things and then make sure that we do it. And then lastly, I think as individual countries, we should be able to also, not just the policy. If we understand the processes leading to our policies, we can carefully select the relevant indicators, and based on that, we can evaluate our policies, whether they are being impactful or not. So we need to also look at that aspect. I think it's very important. Thank you very much.
Merci. Nous passons.
Let's move along to the last row to take another question. I would like to thank the panelists. My question is addressed to the director of FOS Bukra, that has shared insightful information on the economic impact of industry. To this effect, I would like to know more about what are the challenges you encounter in your industry, FOS Bukra, with respect to the fauna and flora in the region where Fos Bukra operates. Thank you. Impact, thank you.
The presentations or presenters, I think it's been very wonderful. We've learned a lot. But I have this preoccupation, especially concerning the challenges when it comes to development evaluation. And one of the challenges actually comes from the aspect of clarity. Clarity. And clarity will also have to do with the source of information or the data that you have received. How do you manage these aspects? How do you manage it? Because you also have to understand that if the statistics are not good enough, there's going to be a problem with the evaluation process. And once there is a problem, it means therefore that even your objectives will have to be altered at a certain point in time. And when you are evaluating and you discover these challenges, do you go back in the implementation process or you simply continue? Thank you.
Merci. Alors, je passe à ce côté.
Thank you. Let's move to this side of the room. Do we have any question in this side of the room? It seems that the questions that have been asked are addressed to the panelists, so I will hand it over to them to answer them. So you each have 2 minutes to answer your questions. Thank you. Thank you for these questions, which bear witness to the importance you give to this particular theme. As regards the first question asked about artificial intelligence, this is indeed a very trendy topic. However, artificial intelligence cannot replace us. As such, it's important to recall, and this is something that I've mentioned before, it's important for you to understand what you want artificial intelligence to do in your stead. And you need to be able to verify whether the output delivered by artificial intelligence is valid. For instance, I facilitated a training on the use of artificial intelligence throughout the entire evaluation cycle with a Canadian evaluation company firm. So with the trainees, the experimental approach for program evaluations, I gave them an exercise that we could even calculate. We could do our calculations and obtain results. I used statistic systems, be it Stata, for instance, for the analysis to determine the impact, and I am aware of the results that it produces. So I gave them the same exercise and instructing them to use the artificial intelligence platform of their choice, and let's see if we end up with the same result or outcome. Some use ChatGPT. They found one result. Others used Cloud AI. They obtained yet another result. And the result obtained from ChatGPT was different from the right option, from the right approach. So when ChatGPT delivers a result, and then when you ask the question if it's sure of the answer, well, then it will rethink, and generally it will lead to a different result altogether. So this is why it's very important to proceed with caution. For certain models or for certain analyses, it's important for you to properly understand how it's done yourselves. As Madam President said, it's important to sharpen your critical mind. And generally, these artificial intelligence models need to be trained. To do so, this requires for you to test the model, to input information, and And this is something that I've done. This is something that was done. For instance, we are in scientific research. We are meant to use a APA, and when these texts are when in the APA format, it's important to cite the name of the author with the year. They're like, oh, that's right, and then our ChatGPT apologizes and then produces another answer. So the data quality is very important. I've truly appreciated that presentation. We also speak to inclusive governance. A census, for instance, is an opportunity to cover the entire national territory. I will hand it over to the other panelists for the sake of time. I'm given the side eye by the moderator. I will try to mitigate your fears, dear Alexis, by saying that these are projects. These are new generation projects that require a great level of agility. This is why evaluation must be agile as well. So we need to create short loops that allow us to challenge the implementation of our projects and programs. This does not exclude this final evaluation either. Allow me to answer the question on coordination, if I may, at the national level. As I've mentioned earlier, our constitution is clear. The Parliament has the mandate to evaluate public policies, but the constitution also spoke to the evaluations in the regions and within the executive bodies. And I also mentioned that we have specific bodies that handle sectoral evaluations. We, in fact, have a full-fledged ministry that handles evaluations focuses on, and whose purpose is who emphasizes and who focuses on convergence. So we haven't reached. We haven't fully streamlined this mechanism, but which is why it's important to emphasize the important role that all stakeholders have in this process. Thank you. So following up on what my colleague Jamal has mentioned, so when we speak to coordination, it's not necessary per se to have a coordination mechanism in the evaluation of public policies, but rather it's important to facilitate. It's important to give freedom to science, to the institutions, to brainstorm. Because when we speak to an evaluation, it's important to stay humble. We can simply see the fast pace at which technology evolves, and especially in some sectors such as education, healthcare, and agriculture. These all have a social nature, so necessarily they're impacted by their environment. So it's important to keep that sort of sense of wonder, which also can with the idea of this brainstorming and curiosity that will lead to better evaluation. So data is very important and will always be important, because the most challenging aspect for an evaluator is data. So for an evaluation system to be efficient, well, its entire ecosystem needs to be efficient. And so this is why the statistics system needs to be effective and efficient. But our experience on the ground always shows how important data is. And so this is why there's this constant quest for data. So data is important, but it needs to be addressed from a place of humility, and it's important to use all available technologies, including artificial intelligence, to serve the purpose of evaluation. Thank you. Thank you. So I've noted quite a few questions on data. As I've mentioned earlier, data is the starting point of any process. And when we speak to AI and even big data to take things even further, And we can see the breadth of information that big data contains. Well, this goes well beyond the scope of conventional statistics. So our conventional data collection methods for statistics, which are the population census, for instance, when we wish to conduct an evaluation or whatnot, we need on-the-spot data rather than waiting to construct data or even trying to use surveys to collect data. And now we also speak to nowcasting. Nowcasting is when for forecast, we no longer speak to forecasting, but for instance, this is a sort of on-the-spot casting. So this is why it's important to have real-time data. So AI and big data do provide this opportunity to turn evaluation into a real-time tool. And so with this real-time data that can be used, however, the issue is that the use of big data is in an experimental phase. There are many methods being developed, and even data which is collected. I mean, in conventional statistics, it's all about methodology and scientific approach, which enables the use of data, which is a lot more reliable. And the risk with the use of, be it AI or big data, is the choice of which methodology should be used. And that's what we're also doing in statistics, is to see how we can use this data to complete the conventional data. Thank you. Mr. Abdallah, I will quickly address the question on AI and data to mention that even the models, artificial intelligence-based models, need to be evaluated themselves. So recently there are some multinational companies that use AI-based systems for their recruitments, have noted that AI systems have also adopted some discriminatory practices, which goes to say that introducing an AI-based model must also be subject to ad hoc evaluations to ensure that there aren't any practices that might be reproduced by AI as well. So in the field of transport, I might add that AI allows us to save space and time, which translates into money. To illustrate this point, there are many examples which show how AI has been able to change processes, and that which in turn have enabled the optimization of investments or even operating systems. And this is all money. For instance, in the large ports where cargo is processed and with artificial intelligence, it truly helps streamline things. So this helps save both time and money. Other examples that I can share are, for instance, in airports, there are major investments made to extend airports, which would no longer be justified if we were able to change how we handle incoming passengers in airports by using artificial intelligence. The last example I'd like to share is big data. Today, everyone has a smartphone, and so with location services, and we conducted an experiment. We purchased big data from an American provider, and given that it's extremely expensive, we chose to limit the geographical scope, and what we can do with that is absolutely outstanding. Thank you. So I would like to answer the question asked on how we've factored in sustainability in the industrial development program. In my intervention, I spoke to the impact on the ecosystem, but I didn't elaborate on sustainability. Allow me to specify that the environmental impact has indeed been taken into consideration in the entire program. And Fos Bukra does comply with the most stringent requirements set out by the World Bank as far as impact and impact assessments. I'd also like to add that for water and power of new projects, as far as water is concerned, we do not use conventional water. All of the water required for the fertilizer complex will be produced using desalinated seawater. So we have a desalination plant with a capacity to the tune of 8 million cubic meters of desalinated water. For energy, Fosbuskra currently consumes 90% of wind-powered energy, and with the development of the fertilizer industry, our power needs will necessarily grow. But we've introduced in our system our cogeneration, we will be generating power. As such, we will be fully autonomous as far as power goes. For environmental impact, these are cutting-edge plants that are being built with zero releases into the ocean. Everything will be stored everything will be stored in accordance with global standards. So rest assured that the development program has incorporated the sustainability factor in all of its construction operating phases. And thank you very much for this question, which allowed me to give you these clarifications. Thank you. First, I'd like to thank all of the participants for the relevance of their questions. And so, speaking to data, well, yes, the quality of data is crucial for the monitoring and evaluation of public policies. And so, we rely on data collected from data producers, such as the High Commission for Planning, the Ministry of Finance. But within the Council, we try to develop our own approach, which goes by way of citizen participation through population surveys or through the Musharik platform. So we try to complete the dimensions and the sustainability of public policies through these various factors. So another important question was act on the impact of public policies, and the impact on citizens does require extensive amounts of periods of time, at least 5 to 6 years. So these evaluations need to be based on criteria and references, projects, which necessarily requires more time and more hindsight for the evaluators, and potentially even an independent evaluation for the stakeholder behind the given public policy. So thank you. That's all I have to say. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your kind attention. We have reached the end of this thematic session, during which we've had some very insightful presentations that I would like to break down into 3 categories. The first is the actual conduct of public policy evaluations. Second are the spin-offs or results of the evaluation of public policies, and third is the regional platforms, for instance, Morocco versus South-South cooperation, or cooperation between Europe, Africa, and the Atlantic. We've had some very interesting discussions and interactions on the challenges, and I have noted 4 main highlights. First is production, or the development of evidence-based data. Second is the involvement, is how artificial intelligence can be used to serve the purpose of evaluations. And third is the importance of coordination and the steering of the evaluation system. The fourth and final aspect I'd like to mention is that we've noted that there are some cooperation outlooks with Morocco as part of South-South cooperation or as part as Africa, the cooperation uniting Africa, Europe, and the Atlantic. Dear participants, these are the main highlights of this session. Thank you very much. I now would like to invite you to warmly thank and applaud our panelists for their insightful presentations once again. But please stay in your seats.
Alors, cela étant,
I now would like to ask you to stay seated. And I would like to now call to the stage the President of APNODE, the Honorable Jeremy Adomao, to kindly take the floor on the podium to deliver the declaration on the line on the parliamentary evaluation strategic driver of development in Africa. Please give him a round of applause.
Déclaration de Lyon.
Lyon Declaration, the parliamentarian evaluation and strategic lever for governance at the service of development in Africa. We, presidents and heads of parliamentarian delegations, members of the African network African Parliamentarian Network for the Development and Evaluation in Lyon, on the occasion of the 10th General Assembly of APNODE, expressing our heartfelt gratitude and our highest consideration to His Majesty the King Mohammed VI, King of Morocco, and the enlightened vision granted to the given a resolute guidance towards to the prosperity of our African countries, given the impotence granted to strengthening South-South cooperation and continental integration. His Majesty the King paves the way for a development based on human dignity, shared responsibility, and the ambition of sustainable progress for the entire continent. Truly delighted with the choice of the city of Lyon in the Kingdom of Morocco to host this continental meeting and the symbolic importance of this choice, given the important role that these provinces of the play in the south and the large-scale projects that have erected the city in a regional space for development and prosperity, and an Atlantic platform that is promising and leading for open collaboration. Paying tribute to the House of Councillors of the Kingdom of Morocco, an institution with exemplary openness, which reflects the wealth of this component, and enshrined with major prerogatives by the Constitution, notably the evaluation of public policies. And in parliamentarian diplomacy, given the eminent roles that contribute to enriching the public debate and to deepening collective reflections, which also reflecting our heartfelt gratitude to all of the African stakeholders in evaluation and whose constant commitment have contributed to reaffirming a demanding evaluation culture, as well as the consolidation of solidarity-based and sustainable governance practices, and reaffirming the strategic importance of parliamentarian evaluation for the strengthening of democratic governance, transparency, accountability, responsibility and the efficiency of public policies in accordance with the 2063 agenda of the African Union, to the SDGs, the 2030 SDGs, and the African aspirations for regional integration, and convinced that the evaluation provides a tool for public policy decision making, and to consolidate the trust of citizens and in its institutions. Aware that Africa has the necessary human and institutional resources to set up rigorous evaluation systems that are adapted to their reality, and developing robust systems, declaring the following text: recognizing evaluation as a democratic right and an instrument of accountability and citizen participation, and making it an ongoing system supporting the entire public policy cycle. Reaffirming the collective commitment for the integration of evaluation in parliamentarian efforts, in particular through capacity building of parliamentarians in evaluation, and the creation of specialized parliamentarian task forces capable of analyzing, reviewing, and gauging the impact of public policies. Whereas public policy is a pillar of modern governance, recognizing the importance of training, research, and evidence-based data. Also promoting the parliamentarian collaboration involving citizens, academia, civil society, and local authorities in a participative and inclusive approach. Also strengthening the African dimension of parliamentarian cooperation in evaluation, promoting experience sharing and best practices, the development of a shared African reference framework for parliamentarian evaluation, and shared tools and methods, as well as the progressive harmonization of standards, the consolidation of an shared institutional memory, and a purely African expertise, creating the creation of the African Observatory, meant to constitute a framework for coordination, cooperation, and the experience sharing between African parliaments to ensure the excellence in evaluation at the continental level, adopting the African Charter for Parliamentarian Evaluation as a reference document aiming to harmonize concepts, approaches, and principles, and the methodological principles governing evaluation to ensure its independence, neutrality, and objectiveness, to encourage the creation within each parliament that is a member of APNODE of national bodies specialized in evaluation, forming the national network of and to promote the evaluation culture, to set up an ad hoc monitoring mechanism in a spirit of cooperation, of pooled efforts and experience sharing amongst African parliaments, to reaffirm the strategic importance of this assembly in Laayoune, and which bears witness to the integrated and sustainable development vision. Finally, calling upon all African parliaments to resolutely commit to the establishment of a true and genuine African evaluation culture, affirming that evaluation is a major driving force for the anchoring of democracy, territorial justice, and the guarantee of sustainable development, and to proclaiming that it would pave the way to a renewed African governance driven by knowledge, openness, and shared willingness to develop a unified and prosperous Africa, done in Laayoune, the Kingdom of Morocco, 21 November 2025, at the Annual General Assembly.
Et comme
As per the agenda, I would not have the opportunity to come back to the rostrum. I would like to give the Speaker of the House of Councillors the chance to say a few words. On behalf of all the MPs and guests attending this 10th session and at the close of this important session and the Laayoune Declaration that has crowned this event, we request His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Ould Rashid, Speaker of the House of Councillors in the Kingdom of Morocco, to convey our sincere thanks and deep gratitude to His Majesty King Mohammed VI, may God be with him, for the generous welcome and hospitality extended to us since we set foot in Morocco, and especially here in the city of Rabat. And I'd like to congratulate His Majesty for the model of development that we have been introduced to yesterday through the field visits we were offered. We shall ask the person in charge to introduce the executive committee, the new executive committee of APNODE. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bonjour.
Good afternoon. I would like to ask you to give a round of applause to our speakers and ask them to go back to their seats. Thank you. Thank you. Throughout this General Assembly, we have talked about evaluation and governance, and within the network, there is a body, major body, which is in charge of operational strategic implementation of decisions, and that is the Executive Committee of APNODE. This committee was elected, the new committee was elected, and I would like to introduce the different members of the Executive Committee who were elected this past week. I would like to ask the Honorable Abdullah Hifdi, elected president or chair of the Executive Committee of APNODE for the years 2025-2027. Would you please join us here, Honorable Hifdi? Thank you very much, Mr. President of the Executive Committee. I would like also to ask the Honorable Digo Moussa, Vice President of the Executive Committee, to join us. I would like now to invite the Honorable Nestor Noutayi to join us as well in his capacity as Treasurer.
Vous allez remarquer que l'approche de genre est de mise dans le comité exécutif.
And since we comply with the gender perspective, I would like to ask you to greet the Honorable Edmond Fonton. She's a member of the Executive Committee as well. I now invite the Honorable Pokosi Doumbé Elise to join us. Now I call on the Honorable Lambda Solons. Please join us. And the last member is, and that is the Honorable Zanu Jamea. He's not with us right now, but we would like to applaud his election as well. He is a member of the Executive Committee. There are members who hold the strategic positions, and there are also partners. And for the 25-27 mandate, we have 3 partners that support the Executive Committee. We have the independent function of evaluation carried out by the African Development Bank. She represents the bank. Another strategic partner that working alongside the committee, and that is the African Evaluation Network, represented by the member of its executive committee, Mrs. Fatou Ndao from Senegal. A round of applause for the lady. Thank you. There's a third partner which is part of the center of, which is the Clear Center for English-speaking Africa. They were not represented here, but its director, Mr. Takun Shanchiro, will be a member of the executive committee. A round of applause for him, even if he's not with us today. So the executive committee for the 2025-2027 term is now completed. I would like to ask Mr. Hifti to say a few words. Thank you very much. Distinguished Speaker of the House of Councillors, distinguished ministers, honorable speakers of African parliaments represented here today, distinguished representatives of technical and institutional partners, distinguished Wali, honorable president of the region, and honorable representative of the Laayoune Municipal Council. I would like it is with deep emotion and sincere gratitude that I address you today at the close of this 10th annual General Assembly of our Pan-African Network on Development Evaluation, which is being held in the city of Laayoune, in this city that represents, that stands for the unity, national unity in the Kingdom of Morocco, and for sustainable development as well. I would like, first of all, to express on behalf of all the members of the Executive Committee, to congratulate them and also to express our deep gratitude to His Majesty King Mohammed VI. May God assist him for his solicitous care and his constant commitment to African cooperation, democratic governance, and the solidarity-based development of our continent, and also for the care extended by His Majesty the King to the members of APNODE here in the capital of our southern provinces, capital city of our southern provinces, and who have had a chance, an opportunity to take stock of the progress and developments achieved in these provinces about which we care so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this assembly in Laayoune marks a historic turning point. It has been the venue for an exceptionally rich debate, sharing of profound experiences, and it was also an opportunity to consolidate a common vision, that of building modern African parliaments that are open and that are geared towards service of public accountability. Our discussions have enabled us to redefine the strategic ambitions of the network around the three key convictions. First, that evaluation is not a luxury, but a prerequisite for democratic performance and sustainable development. Second, that African parliaments must become the guarantors of the use of evaluation results, so that public policies may be effective and transform the lives of citizens. And third, that African interparliamentary cooperation is key to collective learning and parliamentary diplomacy based on knowledge and impact. Ladies and gentlemen, by hosting our work in Laayoune, the House of Councillors has reaffirmed the Kingdom of Morocco's commitment to working for an Africa of solutions, an Africa of results, and an Africa of accountability. This city, Laayoune, is the gateway to the Sahara and the beating heart of advanced regionalization. It embodies the spirit of territorial or local governance based on evaluation, participation, and performance. At the same time, it symbolizes the link between advanced regionalization and autonomy as two essential dimensions of decentralized, inclusive, and responsible governance. And these are values that are at the heart of APNODE's vision. I would like to take this opportunity to pay tribute to the Speaker of the House of Councillors, Mr. Mohammed Al-Rashid, for his enlightened leadership, for his proactive parliamentary diplomacy, which is unprecedented, and for his constant commitment to the culture of evaluation and the promotion of South-South cooperation. Thank you very much for all he has done in favor of APNODE. Dear colleagues, building on the momentum generated by this Assembly, the new APNODE Bureau is committed to pursuing three key priorities. First, institutionalize the parliamentary evaluation function in each African member parliament through the creation of permanent technical units, monitoring mechanisms, and certified capacity building programs for parliamentarians and their staff. strengthen regional and interparliamentary cooperation in Africa by establishing exchange platforms, peer learning opportunities, and strategic partnerships with universities as well as national evaluator networks and African development institutions. Third, align our actions with the African Union's Agenda 2063 and the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals for evaluation that serves the structural transformation of our societies as well as social justice and the well-being of African peoples. Ladies and gentlemen, this 10th Assembly will remain etched in the history of our network as a statement to the maturation of renewed ambition of APNODE as indicated in the declaration. And it will be particularly important in two ways. First, the formal adoption of the African Charter on Parliamentary Evaluation as a true ethical and normative framework for institutionalizing evaluation within the democratic governance of our countries. Second, the launching of the process to create the African Parliamentary Observatory for Evaluation of Development, which will serve as a continental platform for monitoring, analyzing, and documenting best parliamentary practices in evaluation and legislative impact. In this regard, I would request the Speaker of the House of Councillors to accompany us, as indicated also in the agreement signed this morning with the APNODE, and if you could accompany us to appoint a person who will be in charge of that observatory. These two, before I continue, the General Assembly has given a mandate to us to appoint 3 or 4 members as vice presidents, because our goal is to come up with 5 vice presidents, and each one of them will be in charge of coordination with the 5 regions of Africa, CEDEAO, North Africa, CEMAC, and the other 2 parts of Africa, so that we may cover all of the continent and be effective. So in the meantime, I will be in charge of this and appoint these members. They will be Moroccans as well as non-Moroccans. And it will include also members from the previous executive committee. Ladies and gentlemen, these 2 major decisions reflect our network's commitment to move from an advocacy-based approach to one of institutionalization and transformation. They usher APNODE into a new era that is evidence-based, also that is based on verifiable data and transparency. At this point, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and high regard for the former president of APNODE, Mr. Jeremy Adomao, who is the honorary president of the APNODE, for his exemplary dedication, committed leadership, and tireless efforts to strengthen the presence and credibility of our network on the African and international levels. I would like also to thank the members of the previous executive committee who have shown a great professionalism and have contributed immensely to entrenching the principle of evaluation, and this will be extremely important going forward. Distinguished guests and participants, the world is changing very quickly. and with it the demands of governance as well. Africa does not simply need to evaluate, it must learn from evaluation, leverage data, anticipate changes, and strengthen trust between institutions and citizens. Therefore, APNODE must now position itself as the driving force behind this African parliamentary intelligence, which links or which combines knowledge, innovation, and democratic accountability. Our ambition is clear: to move from a project-based culture to an impact-based culture, from an activity-based approach to a result-based approach, and from reactive accountability to proactive evaluation. Because the in fine, evaluation is a way to produce learning and knowledge. In conclusion, I would like to express my sincere thanks and gratitude to all the African parliamentary delegations that participated in the Assembly. We have about 700 African MPs in the APNODE. I also thank our institutional partners, particularly the African Development Bank and the African Training and Research Centers and the national networks of African evaluators. My thanks also go to the local authorities, the elected ones, as well as the wali of the wilaya of the region of Layoun, Saqi al-Hamra, Wadi al-Dahab, for the immense services provided to the APNODE and for the efforts made and the care and hospitality extended to this network. And would like to thank all those who contributed to making this assembly a moment of unity, innovation, and African hope. We leave Layoun stronger, more effectively united, and more committed than ever. I pray that Almighty God help us to bring about smart parliamentary institutions that are responsible, open, and capable of giving substance to the Africa we want, an Africa governed by evidence, informed by data, and driven by trust, the trust of its institutions and citizens. Given the long working day, I'm sure that you are tired, and that is due to the fact that you were keen to participate in all of the activities held on the sidelines of this parliamentary, of this assembly. These are the closing remarks, and therefore these are the closing remarks, and on behalf of all of you, we request, as Mr. Adomaho said, we request His Excellency, the Speaker of the House of Councillors, to express our sincere thanks and deep gratitude of the APNODE to His Majesty King Mohammed VI, may God assist him, for the generous hospitality and care extended to them during this 10th General Assembly here in the city, in the beloved city of Layoun. Therefore, I would like to thank all of the brothers and sisters who have accompanied us from the House of Councillors and the leaders of the caucuses, different caucuses. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you.